that when I first got into Bitcoin, one quote that I read somewhere in the forums was that if we can never walk into a supermarket and buy milk and eggs with Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin won't be a success. I mean, that it won't be worth trillions of dollars and that it won't make all the difference in the world. Whether or not we'll ever be able to walk in and pay one Satoshi for a gumball in a machine, I think those are good questions as to whether or not in the near future that's going to be really necessary or potentially useful. I mean, certainly is it useful to broadcast a transaction for one gumball for one Satoshi to the entire world really relevant and useful, or is it going to be like gold in the future where you have, or hopefully all of us have a lot of Bitcoin stored somewhere, and we just send it into our local fiat currency wherever we are, and just go about our life, much as it looks today, just with a little bit of security, knowing that the back end of things is a little bit fairer and a little bit more robust than the current system. I don't really know.
Thank you, guys. Chris, do you have any thoughts on this? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely two things going on with this whole movement. So I think the store value attractiveness of these map-based currencies is pretty clearly tied to the fact that they are based on math. Just like why is gold popular when we was talking about gold is really a math relationship of protons in the gold atom. It's not based on a person. It can't be broken, and people trust that. And that's what they see in these math-based currencies, because they are simply a math relationship of servers and a distributed protocol. There is no person that can debase them. There is no central authority that can abuse that. It's incredibly attractive. But I think there's a step beyond that gold doesn't have. Gold has that trust, but it doesn't have the utility. You can't use it easily, you can't store it easily, you can't send it easily. So that's why it has really helped as a store of value. But these new math-based currencies, that's not the case. They have tremendous utility because the system of trust is actually the internet itself. So you have the possibility to make truly global payments, basically anybody on earth in any currency without chargeback. I mean, that's amazing. And I think there's a race now of how can we take advantage of the utility with all the things that so many developers are building, whether that be on Bitcoin or whether it be on the other types of math-based currency. We're definitely trying to focus on that with Ripple. How do we make that payment utility as easy as possible? Because store of value, I think, for the world is interesting, but medium of exchange to the world in finance is incredible. You take out so much cost out of the global system. You would enable so many people globally to do things they can't do today with e-commerce. That's the true revolution here. And so that's what we're trying to focus on. How do you then make it easy to pay in your preferred currency? How do you make it fast? How do you make it easy to understand that people that they just want to do things in their life? So this movement has to be about medium of exchange, I think in our view. But both of those things exist simultaneously.
Well stated, thank you. Mark? So as a developer of Friedcoin, obviously the answer to the question, do I think an on-chain might be used for transaction things instead of store value? Yes, that's what we believe. That's why we created it. We believe that there are economic reasons for why that would be desirable to have a different system for using as a medium of exchange versus a store value. But stepping back and looking architecturally at the Bitcoin system, I think there are scalability reasons too why you might want to have, for example, off-chain transactions capable of doing small amounts or capable of doing very high volume. My friend is talking about the scalability of Bitcoin and the possibility that we could reach VISA levels of transaction processing, like 10,000 transactions per second. And that seems very feasible. Like run the right numbers too, it makes sense. But what I would like to do is replace cash. And I think that's a lot more than 10,000 transactions per second. We have 7 billion human beings on the planet, and every single one of them doing how many transactions per day. I think we need to scale to that level, and that will eventually mean doing things off-chain, and then having a chain be the ultimate clearinghouse for reconciling debts between financial institutions. And I think there's a lot of value in Bitcoin itself as just that, as a way in which kind of pools of money can be transferred around just to clear debts and such. I really think that's the future of the protocol.
Thank you. Charles?
It's really funny. When I created Litecoin, I was trying to come up with a tagline and decided to say Litecoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold. People were saying that, well, Bitcoin with Bitcoin, you can actually, Bitcoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold because with Bitcoin, you can send small amounts of Bitcoin. It's just as fast, it's just as easy. But the thing about Litecoin and Bitcoin is, as time goes on, as fees start taking over the block rewards, as block rewards get halved, fees become most of the block rewards. In order to send a Bitcoin transaction, you have to start paying more and more fees because there's a size limit for the blockchain. So for each block, so only a certain amount of transactions, Bitcoin transactions will make it to each block. So if you don't pay enough fees, then the miners will mine your transaction in block. So if you try to pay like 0.001 Bitcoin for a million eggs, it might take hours or even days for that transaction to get completed. That's when you start hitting the limit. So I can see a world where people use Bitcoins to buy like houses or cars, but they want to do daily transactions. They might even think about converting their Bitcoins to Litecoins and use those to buy smaller items or even make micro transactions, because those would be harder for the Bitcoin network.
I think I just want to be clear, that Bitcoin can scale quite a bit before we reach that level. I mean, there is a 1 megabyte block size limit right now, but there's talk about removing it. It's only a matter of time until we do it.
Any other thoughts on this? At this time, I'd like to open the floor for questions. So if anybody has any questions, please line up with the microphone there.
First of all, I'd like to thank Charles